I'm ready. Welcome back to the Rock and Roll channel. Quick hitter edition. CJ and I decided we're going to do a quick hitter because, man, there's only so much we can talk about with Florida State football these days. And without getting, I don't want to say disrespectful, but just redundant about this program. But we still love it. So, man, I had met CJ once or twice, and then we chatted at the Lot 19 tailgate that he runs at Doak before the Miami game, and I said I'd love to have you on sometime, and he said just let me know. And true to his word, he's here tonight. One of my favorite Twitter follows, bar none, on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. He knows how to get after it with people, but he brings facts to it too, which makes it fun. You had a great one today. I loved it about James Franklin. Really good. So, man, and CJ, the host of Doak Talk, was in the Big Three roll-up for a while. Former DB from Bethune-Cookman, played at Lincoln. I think I got your bio there. Right? All right, CJ, welcome to the show, man. Was it Twitter that made you say, all right, man, I want to get into the YouTube world?
Yeah, in this capacity, but it's crazy because I'm out in school for broadcast journalism. So I have kind of a little history, I guess you could say, going back to Bethune-Cookman. Me and a couple of my classmates, like I said, that was my major coming in, and me and a couple of my classmates started a show called the Sports Corner at Bethune-Cookman. It was a live TV broadcast that we did every week, streaming around campus and things like that. And long story short, we started at like 2013-ish, and that show is still going on to this day at Bethune-Cookman. So yeah, it started back then, but being on Twitter and things like that, you mentioned the Big Three roll-up and kind of getting back into that space a little bit. That pretty much got the motivation for me to get back into it. And of course, why not talk about Florida State football with the following I built up on Twitter and things like that, just the conversations that go back and forth. I felt like it was the right opportunity.
Yeah, because the world we live in now, YouTube's just really an extension of X with your face involved there, which I think is cool. I mean, I was so happy when I heard that YouTube numbers are showing that more people are watching it on TV now than their phones or laptops, which is huge.
It's crazy because with YouTube and with cable for a certain period of time, for a long period of time, you kind of force what you see, right? Force what you watch when it comes to the content, anything like that. It's just whatever was on TV, that's what you had to kind of roll with. With YouTube, you pick whatever the hell you want to watch, whatever fits you, whatever style you want. It's tailored strictly for you. I'm 100% sure you can find something in that capacity to give you the quick hitters and give you what you want from that perspective. That's the unique thing about YouTube. That you can just find what you want, the niche that you want to talk about, and versus, cable TV, we got First Take, whatever it may be that you're watching, that you have to watch, so to speak. Nah, if you want to show specifically about FSU football, you can search some folks and talk and find a show specifically about FSU football or whatever it may be. So yeah, that's the unique thing about YouTube, and I love it.
Yeah, same here, man. But only one problem with YouTube is that thing can keep you up all night. You get into a couple videos, and next thing you know, it's 4 or 5 in the morning. You're like, "Good God!"
You've been down the YouTube rabbit hole a few times, huh?
Oh, too many. But man, let's talk a little Florida State football. Obviously, this year once again hasn't gone like we had hoped. I told people after Bama, "Hey, man, let's just see how the season plays out." I don't think I've learned college football is week to week, just because you play well.
Before you get into your take real quick, I got a question for you.
Please.
What was your preseason prediction for FSU as far as a win-loss record?
I mean, I didn't do a game-by-game thing in win total because, long story short, back in '98, I felt like I jinxed us against Torrey Holt and NC State. So really? I stopped doing that. Yeah, all week I was like, dude, it's not even going to be a game. We're going to crush them. We're coming off a bye. I remember telling all the guys, man, like, yeah, whatever. Go take care of business. And then we got crushed, and I remember saying after that, I'm never doing it again. But I said 8 was our ceiling with him. I did not say a 9-3. I never saw a 10-2. 8 was our ceiling. 7-5, I said could keep this job, but it depends on how you look. Anything under 7, I said he doesn't deserve to come back. Maybe that didn't answer your question there.
No, you didn't. It was crazy. I pretty much kind of said something similar. I said 7-5, he should be safe. I said 6, it'd be a hard conversation. 5 or 5. No, I think I said 6. 6 would be a hard conversation, depending on how you look. This, that, and the third. Anything below that, no question. But go ahead. My apologies.
No, please, please. I love that, man. It's like a hangout session. Yeah, 6. I also said, and 2 were layups. So that means you went 4, really 4 and whatever. Same with the record we have now. 2 were layups. So we really only have 3 true wins, and 2 were against substandard teams. I know Wake has whatever amount of wins, but come on. We should beat Wake. So, yeah, that's why I went into the year. I had no expectations. I went on the wait and see approach this year. I was not going to get bought into any hype, anything. And I said, Bama will tell us a lot week 1. But I was more concerned about the Virginia game week 3. Or week 4 was it? I forgot. Week 3. I was more concerned with that. I remember Brian McFadden came on my show, and we were talking, and we said that one has more implications than Bama.
All right, which I agree on. That was the game I kind of circled preseason as well. That would kind of show me exactly who this Florida State team could be for the upcoming year, because win, lose, or draw with Bama, that game is kind of like a one-off. You get up for Bama, they could just blow us out in Doak, whatever it may be. But the go on the road game, night game, Virginia, Friday night, just that would have showed me that what type of team this Florida State team would have been as far as the rest of the year, the conference and that type of deal, and how they respond in that type of environment. So I agree.
Yeah, because Virginia, we were there, Bama. They had 2 cupcakes to start the year, so they spent the whole offseason getting ready for us. So I said, this game will dictate it. We haven't won on the road in how long? We lose to Bama, it doesn't really end your season. Virginia can set a tailspin, and that's what happened. So yeah, that's why 8 was my ceiling. I just didn't see a 9-3, 10-2. I just didn't, because I went into the year saying you're at best, because we didn't think Clemson would be this bad. We didn't think Florida would be this bad.
Well, I figured Florida could be this bad, but Clemson, I agree with you 100%. The reason I said it because of Napier, I just didn't see it with him, and that I've never seen it with him. That became true as they got rid of him. But yeah, I agree with you. And that's the frustrating part of it, because you ended up beating Alabama. Clemson isn't the same Clemson we've been seeing, and they literally tried to give up the game a few weeks ago. So the schedule set up pretty nicely, even though as far as preseason expectations, what you're talking about, but how the season actually unfolded, this conference was very winnable.
Oh, it was laid up for us. We could have just lost to Miami this year and been in a serious conversation. That's why I said if you were 2 out of, which all year, that's why I said at best you're getting 2 out of 4 in those games. So right now you've only got 1. But Florida, I also knew was in Gainesville to end the year, so that's why I was a little worried about that. And I liked Lagway last year. I didn't think he would regress this year a little.
So the wild card, you still have a chance to get the 2 out of the 4. But again, so the big issue with everyone right now, and because everyone pretty much said, I think Vegas had a 7.5 or 6.5, something along those lines. A lot of people thought 7-5 would be 6-6 or 7-5 would be what it was. The big issue at hand, though, is the Stanford loss. That game is what changed everything, because you look at the teams that FSU lost to aside what we lost to Clemson, Miami, Pittsburgh, who's pretty damn good after the quarterback change, as we have seen. Still should have won that damn game of Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I mean, this only game I really concede, I guess, right now is just the Clemson game and the Miami game. The rest of them could have been 100% won. And even Clemson literally tried to give that game away. They're not a good football team. I'm up there at Clemson at the game and watching the all 22 after the game and just watching some of the clips that we missed on offense. Man, it was about 3 to 4 big plays that we left on the field versus Clemson, like touchdown type of plays. And then you factor in Jake missing that chip shot kick, and then you factor in Tommy Castellano fumbled the ball on the 11-yard line. Like, they literally tried to give that game away. And outside of the defense, that first drive with Clemson on that 13-play drive or something like that, defense played pretty solid throughout that game. But yeah, so that Stanford game was it, because you just look at how he looked within that game. They're, of course, like a 3-win team. And just the energy was off. You have Edwin Joseph jumping off sides, giving up that the field goal, the kicker ended up missing the kick in the first down place. Jumps off sides, give them the first down, he ended up getting up the touchdown as well that same drive. Then he had the next, right? The oldest Mike Norvell on the sideline, to where Mike is low key chewing him out. He's going back and forth with Mike. And then what do we see the next defensive drive? Edwin Joseph is back out there playing this, that, and the third. So and this
That's some Willie Taggart stuff.
What's that?
Some Willie Taggart type stuff.
Yeah,
the stuff we ripped Willie for has happened this year, and Mike's gotten the pass in some ways on it. That's why I was really glad when you called him out for that. And I could see like the Clemson game. I see you're seeing like the silver lining in a good way there because it's absolutely true what you're saying. But when you do that all the time,
that just shows how bad we were in regards to not taking advantage of that. It's just crazy because it was like that team, Clemson wasn't good, and they literally tried to give that game away, but Clemson was so bad they couldn't take advantage of the freebie that was given to them.
I mean, if I told you the week of the game that they gave up 48 to Duke the week before, we're only going to be able to maybe we'll score 10, you would have said, "Come on, we got to get at least 17-21."
Them giving up 48 points the previous week to Duke and say, "Hey, we hold this Clemson team to 24 points." Okay, now like we're going to win this damn game. But again, it's just crazy how you get just like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde with this team, and home versus away. Offense plays good one game, defense plays good one game. Offense plays terrible, defense plays terrible. Only game we've seen where I guess it's kind of clicking on all cylinders probably is the Bama game. And even with the Bama game, it was a lot of Bama left a lot of plays, on offense. Like they left some stuff in the field as well too that could have been taken advantage of.
Absolutely. And Mike is good if you give him an entire offseason to prepare for one game and get you fired up. And you watch as the year goes on, our guys just don't hold up health-wise, mentally. That's why, like the Clemson game, you're absolutely right. But my counter to that is, and when it happens all the time with your teams, that's just who you are as a team and program. Yeah. I can see one time here, one time there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like you're kind of playing in our face, like uncharacteristic mistakes. Like, come on, Mike. We've been watching 6 years, man. There's nothing uncharacteristic about the things we were doing on the field.
And I get tired of with Mike is the whole, well, he's a nice guy thing. I'm not arguing that. I've met him 3 times at booster events. He's okay. But he's only had 2 winning seasons at Florida State, and he got fat contracts after both of them. So he's played the business game too. And I don't begrudge him for that. But I don't want to hear that, like, I think who was it? Sam Moore had the funniest tweet when he's like, "Man, they act like he volunteers." Some people here, so that's why I just think that's what we are as a program. We're gonna miss key plays. We're not focused. They're a different team on the road. I don't know why. I read last night that he's investigating, looking into changing the time the team leaves the hotel for the bus ride and what time they get. If we're doing that in year 6, that's some like I don't want to even say JUCO stuff or high school. But you don't expect that at Florida State. I mean, the operation. Now you're looking at that stuff. Maybe we're getting there too early. Maybe we're doing this. That's just the worst kind of excuses to me. That's why I've lost any like hope in Mike. That is Jake made a good point about. He said midway through the 3rd quarter, he knew we were in for a long year. Yeah, because we thought we'd be better against the run. And Virginia gassed just always.
Oh, yeah, so when it comes, I didn't even see my apologies. Go ahead. What did he say?
He said that midway through the 3rd quarter at UVA, he knew we were in for a long year. I did too, because I said I didn't think we'd be that bad against the run. And that doesn't usually improve in a year.
And to be fair, it wasn't. I mean, it has gotten better because we played Miami that very next week. And then, but I guess you have some games like you have Pittsburgh where it's just defense looked terrible. Hell, even last week against Virginia Tech had over 200 yards rushing, and they were like 8 for 14 on 3rd down. They just couldn't capitalize on certain key plays. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just frustrating. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when most of the yards came from the quarterback too.
Yeah,
like that's even more frustrating.
Yeah, 70 from the quarterback, but they did have a running back that eclipsed 100 yards. He had like 8 yards per carry on 12 carries.
But we had 3 sacks, right? 3 or 4 sacks. So that took off from his total. So he probably would have had close to 100.
Yeah.
If you think about that.
Right.
People forget about that stat. He should have just said at one point, I had a guy mention yesterday, he said he should have just said, screw this, I'm going to be an H-back the rest of this game. And we might have had some big problems.
Well, we would have had a lot of problems because we couldn't stop it.
Right. We got lucky. That was the game that worried me. I still like Tony White's defense. I knew I was more comfortable with Gus coming in because Gus was going to have more of his pieces to work with. Him and Mike had already worked together before. Tony, I knew, wasn't going to have all his pieces. I thought with Daryl Jackson coming back, Daryl's actually quietly had a really good year.
He's having a really good year. It's just the pieces around him that's not doing anything to kind of the pieces around him. So with the 3-3-5 and that nose job, it's a unsung hero grunt work type of.
Yeah, you got to be a hellraiser.
People around you, in order for you to get the recognition that you deserve, the people around you have to do their job, right? So we don't have guys that's really winning their one-on-one battles. The only folks that's really winning their one-on-one battles on the defensive line is the freshmen, right? So that's a problem. It's a good thing, but it's a problem in the same sense. So yeah, DJ is definitely having a good season. It's just being unheralded because everything around him isn't what it should be.
Yeah, and it was like that with him last year too. After the first 3 or 4 games, he
played lights out.
He played lights out. Well, people will never know because we were so bad.
Yeah,
and he played on some games where they were checked out.
Yeah,
so that's why he's quietly had a really good year. I would not be surprised if he's maybe second team All ACC.
Yeah, I can see that, and also he's going to be a high draft pick as well too.
Yeah, so he did the right thing by coming back. I know it's not been a good year for him, but he got his NIL money. I think he improved his stock, so it worked out. I still like Tony White as a coach. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, I don't like this system." It's worked. I've watched it work. He did a lot more with less at Nebraska. I thought James Williams was going to be a hellraiser for us this year. That was the one that surprised me. He was the guy you knew going in the year had to have a good year.
Yeah, and Jason Jenkins, he unfortunately he had the injury. He just hasn't been the same since prior to the injury. And part of me thinks, I mean, was he not 100% healthy or rushed back in a sense? Because all we heard leading up to that was this could be something that, the tail end of the season, possibly the entirety of the season. And then a few months later, he's miraculously recovering. He's going to be good for Alabama. Now, was that pushed up? Because he isn't the same player from an explosion standpoint. So maybe the healthier he gets, he could get back to that. But I agree with you as far as like James Williams. We thought he was going to be the guy. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked out. And we see, man, just watching some of the games, nah.
And I gave him a pass. Yeah, I gave him a pass for Bama because I said he was double teamed a lot and it helped Daryl have a really big game. But since then, he really hasn't been double teamed. I know he's playing with ankle injuries and all this and that. That's one thing about Mike's team. I have not been happy with our strength and conditioning program. I was really hard on Josh Storms this past offseason. I think I was proven right, unfortunately. The point is, if you're going to keep Mike another year, but he's on a short leash, do you make him make a bunch of changes? That's the question. I mean,
I get what you're saying, because that's the question that the people that make the big bucks have to answer. But you're right, because we really unpack it. All right, so you're going to keep him for another year. So you're going to make more investments from an off-season standpoint, get rid of off-field guys, strength and condition, whatever it may be. You're going NIL, you're going to invest more money into that, right? More money into that to do what, though? To kind of get the same type of product, when in actuality you could just cut bait altogether. You're going to take a bigger loss up front, of course, find you a new coach, and then a few years you're in agreement because of certain things. Because if you do this and then you still fire Mike Norvell next year, you invested all that money, you still have to pay the big buyout, because the buyout only is like $10 million from next year to this year, right? So,
and that's not including what he could make at another job.
Correct. So if he gets another damn job, then the buyout, kind of like the James Franklin situation, that buyout shrinks. So again, like you invest all of this like you did last year in Mike Norvell again, and do this and do that as far as off-field changes, and then you go 6-6 again next year, and like you invested all this money when you could just cut bait the previous year, and then this, that, and the third. So administration definitely has a interesting, I guess you could say, decision to make in regards to what they're going to do. And then you got to really look at the pros and cons. And there's a lot of cons and bring it back, because I said yesterday, 2 days ago on my live show, when you bring in Alfred, one of Alfred's biggest jobs could be, if he does keep Mike Norvell, how do you get on the road, go to these booster tours, this, that, and the third, and get people motivated and to buy season tickets, invest in the program, get excitement going? I know I think after the Wake Forest game, they sent out their annual renewal for season tickets. And a lot of people's like, man, what the fuck are you sending me this shit for? Excuse my language. So it's like,
no, I love it. I got a call after Pittsburgh, and I don't give much, I'll admit it. But they called me after Pittsburgh, the ticket office, super nice, and boosters. And they called me and said, hey, are you coming up to any more games this year? And it's not their fault we suck.
It's not.
I'm not going to take out some poor ticket representative who's just doing his or her job. So she's like, are you coming? And I said, well, it's a long drive for me from South Florida. I was at Bama. I was at Miami. So I don't think I'm going to be going to other games. She goes, yeah, you're not very much motivated. I understand. I don't blame you. Like, it was so like, she's been on the phone so much when she's like, yeah, I don't blame you. You're not motivated.
Right. You're probably the nicest person she talked to that day.
Maybe. And then I said to her, listen, it's not your fault we're struggling. Like, I know these aren't easy calls to make. And she's like, oh, okay, thank you. I mean, she must have been getting ripped or this and that. And how are you calling me about tickets? And now you got to go back on season tickets, the ones you told to get lost for whatever reason, and tell some people, hey, don't you want to come back? Those people really don't want to come back.
So, and yeah. No, just to your point, like, it's going to be, if you do keep him, like, it's going to be a tough ass off season, man. A very tough off season in regards to the motivation standpoint. Okay, 2-win season, you can say you face a little bit, cut back with your coordinators, bring in new coaches, this, that, and third. And now, granted, you go from 2 wins to 7 wins, it's an improvement. 5-win improvement from 1 year to another is good, but you shouldn't have been in 2 wins in the first place. But again, it's how it looked. It's just a Stanford game. And I don't blame, I think, because I saw somebody with offensive stats, we're top 10 in offense, we're like top 25 or 30 on defense. Like, from the sheer number standpoint, you see the big improvements on both sides of the ball, this, that, and the third. And just from a sheer number standpoint, it's like a 9-8 win team just from that, right? But of course, everything has context and nuances and things like that, and we have certain games to where it just shit just look crazy, or Gus just goes off on a tangent or bad play calls, whatever it may be. But these coaches, I do think that these coaches deserve a second year to bring in more players for the system, a la Tony White, this, that, and the third, build more relationships with recruiting, because typically that second year, like this 2027 class for a new staff, is the year that typically you get your returns on, right? So I would like to see that from this new staff, but the unfortunate part about it, they're just tied to the previous 5 years of Mike Norvell.
Yeah,
and
that's, they knew that coming in,
which they knew coming in, and that's why everything was kind of, a lot was riding on the season for a bounce back, because shit, it could have been a one and done for a lot of these coaches, and it still can be. We don't know how things will play out, but yeah, to that point, it's like I like the new changes. I really do. I think it's big improvement on both sides, but there's still a lot of little things that needs to be cleaned up, and that's from a top down thing, in my opinion, as far as like, of course, culture and all that type of deal, accountability, all of that stuff starts from the top down. But again, I like what these new coaches have brought to the table. I want to see them in another year within the system, players in another year in the system, another year to, especially from a defensive standpoint, another year to get the guys to kind of fit what you run. But the unfortunate side of it, again, like I said, they're tied to the previous 5 years of Mike Norvell.
That's so well said, because with Gus, a lot of people thought it might just be a 1-year deal regardless, to help the guy he mentored, help him out, not have to deal with the nonsense in 1 more year. Because the rumor was his wife was kind of telling him that, hey, man, maybe it's time to retire. I don't know what they're saying now. This year can't really make him say, oh,
of course, it's a tough year, and things could change because how tough it is. But Gus actually was enjoying this shit, as far as, man, I'm in Tallahassee, I'm right up the road from my grands, my kids, and this, that, and third. I'm calling offense. I'm at home at a certain hour. Like, this shit is cool with me.
No NIL, no portal.
Like, I'm just calling offense, dialing up plays. I don't worry about everything that Mike Norvell has to worry about, and I still get that family time. So, and people's trying to tie him to Arkansas job and all that type of thing. I don't even think Gus really wants to leave, but of course, the circumstance, how bad the season was. But I think this is a guy that will stay at FSU for another few years, due to if it was a better situation. But I feel like his mindset was to stay at FSU for a few more years and then possibly retire after that.
No, that's a good point, because I think his family's in Alabama, so yeah, that was the appealing thing of coming to Tallahassee.
It's like a few hours from Tallahassee.
Right. That's why Orlando was a little far for him. So no, I hear you there. here's the thing: is if we want to go out into the portal and be aggressive, which we have to be, recruits, portal kids are going to say, "Oh, really? This school's offering me 100,000 to play for you guys since you've been so bad. I want 300. I want 400." It's like a tax for being bad. Where Georgia doesn't have to pay as much for a player. A lot of these schools don't because they're like, you're going to compete for national titles. You're going to go to the NFL. What are you here for? We can't sell that at Florida State. That's why. Then you talked about like removing coaches and what's the point? Cut the Band-Aid if Mike isn't the guy, and I agree with you. What elite coach is going to want to come here, especially after this year? If
I disagree on that point because I think Florida State is still Florida State. And I think you have a lot to sell for a new coach as well, too. Let's kind of unpack that a little. When I say you have a lot to sell.
I meant elite. Sorry, I'm sorry. I meant as a coordinator or a strength coach.
Okay. No, it won't be another coordinator from a elite standpoint. They're not going to.
Yeah. Head coach, absolutely. Trust me, you'd be surprised probably of who would be interested.
Very surprised. Very surprised.
And our paying is going up.
Tie their hedges to Mike Norvell again, especially no elite offensive coordinator will put themselves in that situation. You're not going to get a better offensive coordinator than Gus Malzahn, in my opinion, for the current situation.
No, I agree. And you don't know what Tony White's thinking and saying behind the scenes. If he's telling his agent, Jimmy's, I'm assuming he's with Sexton.
Right.
If he's I'm assuming who isn't.
Who the fuck is
you and I are the only people that aren't with him, probably. Yeah. But I'm sure if he's telling his agent, like, man, it's worse than I thought it was going to be here, which I wouldn't doubt it. I'm not saying he's saying that, but if he's saying that, well, Jimmy's relaying that message to people. Hey, I'm going to get you more than Florida State wants to pay because you're going to a mess. And then we're in another mess.
Yep. So now I think if we keep Mike, he definitely keeps his coordinators. I do think
Tony's happy. I
think Tony is.
He's an alpha.
He is, but I think he knows what it can be.
I agree. Him and Mike don't seem to be getting along.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Was like the Pittsburgh game when they left the field together.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have some accountability as well too. And that Pittsburgh game, that defense was bad.
Yeah,
it was bad. It was bad. So, I do think Tony is in this to his press conferences. He's an accountability type of guy. Hey, we're bad. I accept this, that, and the third. Also, I think Tony, he had a very good image early on from those previous two stops. And then the Bama game, his shit was sky high, right? That's when you all heard at UCLA and all that type of deal. Yeah. Then after the Virginia game, it kind of died down due to some bad performances. So I feel like he, from a rep standpoint, needs to build it back up to what it was. And I think he knows what it could be at Florida State and what it can be. But you're right, you never know as far as what conversations he's got behind the scenes as far as leaving this, that, and the third.
Yeah, I mean, I went up to Nebraska for Nebraska-Michigan for the channel. And you wouldn't, I mean, I'm wearing my Florida State stuff. I can't help it. And you wouldn't believe how many people came up to me and brought up Tony White.
Yeah.
How lucky we were to have him, how much they missed him, about how good a coach he is. And we were 2-0 then, feeling great. Like, I'm like, yeah. And I still think that. But it's cool to hear it from other fan bases who know the person, especially when we're emotionally involved with Florida State. To hear them say, no, he's the real kid.
4 straight top 25 defenses at 2 different stops. I mean, that's not a coincidence, man. We're talking about places at Syracuse and Nebraska
who don't get the talent we do.
Correct. So I think it's a 2 flip of the coin. It's more so an indictment of the previous staff because how much we neglected defensive line and linebackers. Like, shit is crazy how from an edge rush standpoint and defensive tackle and line, we really neglected that position from the previous staff. And then on the flip end, you knew, but again, I think it's a part of the general manager as well too, because I think Ray definitely has to go, but he does allocate in regards to what's needed and all that type of deal. That's why I think GMs nowadays pretty much got too much damn power because coaches see what the fuck they're coaching and know this, that, and the third. But I said it to say this: you had a spring practice to kind of see the defense line of linebackers. You could have been a lot more aggressive in the spring window portal to bring in more guys from a linebacker and defensive line standpoint. seeing what you saw in spring practice. Now, of course, spring practice was closed. I don't know what the fuck they really saw, but from what I was seeing on the damn field this year, right? I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
those linebackers got exposed at some point in time in spring practice by Gus Malzahn, this, that, and the third, right? So you kind of knew what you had post spring and didn't really attack it.
And we
Address
had
it.
heard in 2 days, or they don't do 2 days anymore. Fall camp that our backup D tackles were it was a sketchy situation.
Yeah, especially once Win went down, it was bad. So
Yeah, and you don't want to have to rely on true freshmen.
no, you don't.
At
Not,
that
not in that situation.
Not at that position. That's why even like Will Compton from Nebraska, his producer of his show, he saw my Florida State hat and goes, Will said, I got to watch Florida State Alabama today. And the guy's like, why? You're okay? And he goes, Tony White's gonna have that defense show out. So Will was talking about him. Everybody. I was like, man, I think we got a special guy. And Tony's an alpha. I like how he says I have to do better too.
Accountability, man. I
I
appreciate
like
it. I think
that. I haven't had that.
again, that's what I'm saying. Like we're talking about, and there's been an improvement on both sides of the ball. We're talking about year one with a guy that Gus Malzahn was more equipped, like you said, it was more pieces on offense than it was on defense. Defense was really handicapped. So I do want to see what that defensive staff can really build because you hear so much about what, well, not necessarily you hear what you just said, you hear, but you saw it as well about what they built at previous stops. But again, it's just the fact of the decision on the administration in the previous 5 years, being attached to Mike Norvell.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of stuff is not Tony's fault. Even Gus, in some ways, is Mike has done a horrible job building depth. Jeff Cameron made a great point today when he said, "Yeah, it sucked. Deuce Robinson got hurt against Pittsburgh, but that means you have no one else who can catch a football."
That's the thing. That's when I knew that game. That's when I knew that game was kind of slipping from FSU. I was at the Doak Stadium. I was in the stands. I literally said to myself, we're going to lose this game just because how the offense, after Deuce got hurt, everything changed on offense. From a pass standpoint, we got very vanilla. We didn't take any shots downfield. Of course, after the game, when we were that Danzy strike, where we had to take strikes at that point in time, but it was very conservative. We weren't being aggressive and trying to get points. The run game was being stuffed. We phoned the ball as well, too. But just seeing how the game was going on the offensive standpoint, we need to score points because we couldn't stop Pittsburgh, really. Like, we couldn't stop them. And at some point in time, they were going to score enough points to overtake us in that second half. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and Tony, to his credit, and it was frustrating to hear this, but I'm glad he said it. They asked him what changes he made going into Wake, and he said we overcompensated too much. Miami, we sold out against the run, so they just threw the ball. Pittsburgh, we sold out against the pass, and they just ran it down our throat. You don't want to hear your DC say that, but at least he understood that.
Because the limitations of what they have in certain areas. I mean, that's just the facts of it. And then certain coordinators get when they kind of expose the other, and you kind of like, okay, but then I do like how these last few weeks, how things have changed up a little bit and just kind of let them play a little more freely and things like that. But again, I feel bad for Tony because like you try to overcompensate for certain things, especially against Miami. Like that was the big fucking concern, right? Going into the Miami game, especially what we've seen against Virginia and how Miami ran the ball up to that point, how good that offensive line was. They're going to control the clock, run it down our throats, just that third. We did a hell of a job stopping the run, but 3 to 4 chunk plays down the damn field cost us.
Yeah, no, it was awful. And these coaches on the other side are too good and made too much money for you to make it that easy. We're just going to do one thing to try to beat you. Well, we're going to do the other thing when they have that kind of talent. But so before we go, man, CJ, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I could have kept you for another 3 hours, but I promise I won't. But
if you really hang out for another 20 or something, we'll just keep
awesome.
going.
So I'm with you there. Do you think this week told you, all right, he's definitely coming back next year, regardless of the last 2 games?
No, I won't say that because again, he still have an opportunity to go 6-6 or 5-7. Yeah. If we're being completely honest, he still has the opportunity. We see how we've been looking on the road. Completely different team. Now, granted, NC State is terrible. They're not good. They're really not good. We see what they did against Miami last week. A few other teams, I think Virginia Tech ended up blasting NC State. Yeah, like that shows how clunky the damn ACC is, right? You really never know. But my only issue with NC State is Friday night, Carter Finley Field, that type of deal. That's my only issue with
right? Yeah.
So, and again, we've been playing terrible on the road, haven't won a road game since 2023. And then, of course, you have the Swamp game. We play Florida in the Swamp on the road. And my issue with that is Florida's defense is pretty damn good, and they have athletes on defense. And we've seen teams with that type of defensive talent, right? And how we compete on offense. Like we look like a completely different offenses versus teams with the post on defense or have good enough players on defense. Miami, we look crazy on offense. Clemson, crazy on offense. So again, we got to figure that out because Florida is one of those teams that looks comparable when it comes to athlete for athlete and that type of deal.
I think they're better than us, roster-wise.
Oh yeah,
they've had some close games with teams this year that we wouldn't have been in the ballpark with. Georgia,
yeah, they definitely better than us roster-wise. I agree with you. But only thing in our favor is DJ. Is DJ.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. And with an interim coach, his last game, he's going to want to get them up for that game and say he beat Florida State. It will be like a bowl game for him. It will be like, man, my audition for a new job.
Yeah.
He'll want to beat it. I mean, they're coming off a Tennessee game, which I think they'll be a little beat up from.
Mm-hmm. But again, man, they have a big offensive line, and Jaden Ball can run the fucking football, man. That kid is a boss. Big physical. The first person rarely brings him down. And again, that could be one of those games where they run it down our damn throat. So I don't think if they're smart, yeah, I would just run it down, keep it out of DJ's hands, in my opinion. That's what I would do. Stay ahead of the sticks, keep it out of DJ's hand, and let your defense do the rest. But again, though, so to answer your question, going back to answer your question, I don't think how he's been talking that he's safe. I don't think he's still safe. The jury is still out.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm watching the media, a lot of them backpedal this week. The ones I like and trust and respect. I'm not saying I form my opinion based on what they say, but they've really, because they were after Stanford, he needs to go, to money now, which they weren't saying before. And the money number hasn't changed.
A lot of those guys too, man, and a lot of those media personalities, they're fans too. They're emotional driven and things like that. And a lot of people had emotional taste after the Stanford loss. I try to keep stuff kind of even keeled and kind of keep emotion out of when we're talking about this specifically. I just think the jury is still allowed to go either way. And even if you win he goes 7-5. I mean, shit. I still don't think he's.
I would still say we let him finish the year
because of optics, and that's something that we kind of get on Alfred about it. I mean, that's something he stuck true to. He said he's going to evaluate things at the end of the year, and I think his previous coaching changes and was after the year. That's
a good point. And in his mind, if he's looking at
Martin Jr. was after the year as well too.
That's a good point. Yeah, and but things with Mike Martin came to a head in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff went down in the College World Series or whatever was the court, whatever it was. Things got really ugly there.
Yeah,
his hand was forced there. When I heard the parents were going ballistic in the stands, and baseball parents are known to be. But you're right about and for all he's saying to himself is, if Franklin was never his guy, they could win by 50, and I agree with you because I don't think we're going anywhere with Mike right now. That's the thing. I've seen what I need to see. I mean, it's 6 years now, and we're having year 1, year 2 conversations about him. That's the best way I describe it. And I don't want to have to say anymore. I like the guy. Great. He's about to be a very rich guy, and already is. I don't feel bad. Like,
right. I mean,
there's been some damage done to the program with his time here that I'm not going to say we can never overcome, but it's going to take a long time to overcome. I really have come to that realization as well, from a recruiting standpoint, PR, optics. Man, that's why. And Alfred, if he is saying to himself, "There's a sitting head coach I'm interested in that I think can become available in end of November, December," why do I need to cut bait with Mike now? Let him finish out the year and help his draft stock, whatever, interview stock. He's not helping it, but that's what.
Man, I think.
I guess they were not interested in Franklin.
If he does make a move, I think people are going to be surprised that the pool that it could create and the interest that it could draw. And it could be some schools that you would think that have active head coaches that are pretty good head coaches that you would think, why the hell did he come to Florida State? And you're like, oh, he actually does have interest in Florida State and in that type of deal. So some back channel things it could be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Jimmy Sexton breaks a lot of like ethics rules when he's talking about a coach who's a client of his at one school hasn't been fired yet, about another one of his clients going there.
Right.
Ed D, what do you feel about the job Herb Hand has done this year? You go first, CJ.
Amazing job, man. Like Herb Hand for president. You're talking about an offensive line that was one of the worst in the country, and we're pretty damn good, man. This is the best offensive line we've had since probably 2013-ish, 14-ish, like those type of years. Like we're talking about a decade of football, and probably the best offensive line we had in a decade. And this is a quick turnaround. And we're talking about, and Gus Malzahn kind of spoke about this, 5 new starters across the boards, right? 5 or
all 5. Yeah.
All 5 new starters. Of course, only the one that returns is Richie, but all new starters that haven't played together.
And Richie only played 2 games last year.
Yeah, so Richie was hurt last year. He didn't play much football last year. So 5 starters that never played any type of football together, and Gus kind of spoke about the preseason about getting those guys to mesh and things like that. This shows the job that Herb has done, man. Like it's a stand-up job and trying to put a Band-Aid on something. It turned out to be a strength for the team. A really good, I'm not going to say a strength. It's one of the many factors that make the team that this offensive line is pretty good. We'll just leave it at that.
It's serviceable, which I was hoping for going into the year.
Right. We're talking about the bottom of the barrel, how bad offensive line was, and we're pretty damn certain. I said preseason, if this offensive line is mid at best, I'm happy. But these guys have been pretty solid, man, for the most part. And then those 2 injuries, my apologies, but last week we had those 2 injuries, and the offensive line didn't really miss a beat.
Right. That's a great point. And not a knock on him, but blocking for a Tommy Castellanos is not the easiest job.
No, it's not. It's not.
Because he's going to want to run at some point, but he can't this year because of his injuries. It's tough to keep him in the pocket with his height, give him more time. They've done a good job this year. Like, I don't go into games saying any chance our offensive line doesn't get bulldozed by their defensive line. I used to keep an eye on the other team's D-line so much.
That should be a talking fact. Like, we just don't think the offensive line can compete against the defensive line.
Right. The only game I was worried about this year was the Miami game. And I don't think they did horrible against Bain and those guys.
Nah, man, those guys, man. And most of the times it was Tommy doing certain things and holding the ball too long in regards to that game.
Yeah. And they brought the house at him. So they weren't the reason we lost that game, that's for sure. So I agree with CJ as well, Ed. Who should be our next head coach? I got some thoughts on this, man. I don't know. I'll be happy to. Now that Franklin's off the board, I don't think he was ever really on the board, or they would have made a move on Mike probably a while ago. I am not about anymore. The old me used to love the press conferences and getting that new buzz and that car smells you talked about. Man, now I like the idea of Franklin. I didn't love it at first. Then I really grew to like it because I said, we're not looking to compete for national titles right now. We're just that bad. We need someone to stabilize a program and then go from there, like Mark Richt did at Miami. And then, well, they screwed up after that. But anyway, yeah, some names I love. I wouldn't mind like a stud coordinator who's coached like SEC ball and knows recruiting, like a Glenn Schumann at Georgia. He's learned under Kirby, learned under Saban, recruits the Southeast with the best of them. He's learned how to run a program like those guys do. Young, energetic. I understand we like that about Mike, that he was young. So from a coordinator standpoint, it have to be him. Believe it or not, I like the OC at Georgia Tech. Buster Faulkner. He runs such a dynamic offense, man. You don't know where it's going. Imagine him with some weapons that Florida State could have. Yeah. And where he doesn't, and remember, he coaches is the OC. He calls the offense, but Brent Key's an offensive lineman. They tend to go a little more conservative by nature. Imagine him with us. He'd bring him Winky, which would be a nice move. I like those two. I don't know what head coaches are available. I don't even care if Texas comes open. I really don't. I'm surprised Desmond Howard did that yesterday.
That was interesting as well, but but it may not be. it may not be college that Sark is looking for. Look, it could be NFL.
I don't think you don't leave Texas to go to another college.
Right. Yeah. So
There's no.
NFL.
I mean, I was at Texas Clemson last year, CJ. I mean, my God, that stadium.
Yeah.
Like what they have there, yeah. You just and the oil is different. You get the oil money there. You see more when you travel on the road how tough it is, Tallahassee, getting people to the games.
Yeah.
The nearest big city is Orlando, Jacksonville, 3-4 hours away. That's why Gainesville will always have that advantage over us because Orlando's a straight shot, quick shot there and back. But seeing Texas and their facilities, and I went to Michigan last year. I saw their facilities. I mean, we're improving. We've come a long way. I don't care about facilities that much anymore. I think NIL's replaced the Jimbo facility talk. So those names I like. But Mike Alford seems in the past has always been a big splash kind of guy. He loves the big splashy hire. He loves that big photograph moment. He's big on that. I don't know if you can make a big splashy hire here now. If you're going to spend what you're going to spend to get rid of Mike, you're not going to be able to spend. Like, there's no point to do an 8-10 year contract for $8 million a year. And I'm sure Franklin wouldn't take anything below that at the level he's been at. So I'm sure that was a factor too with us that we weren't going to meet his offer. Who do you think? Who was some coaches in your head that you're like, oh, I could see that? Yeah, just spitballing.
With Glenn, I don't like Glenn from that perspective because if you look at since when he took over actual play calling of the defenses, it's been a drastic drop in their defensive output. Like when Kirby and those guys were pretty much calling defenses. Georgia was pretty much a top 5 defense annually. After that, it's been more so 20 to 25-ish. So you come to Florida State where you're not going to have the luxury. Now, of course, he does know how to recruit in this and the third. You come to Florida State, you're not going to have the luxury to have the Ferrari, right? Because nothing changed in regards to Georgia as far as from a talent standpoint. They're still recruiting the same as they recruited back then. I could argue they're probably recruiting better, right?
Not on the defensive line. Their ends this year. Yeah, I watched their D-line. Their D-line is not as good this year as the past.
From a recruiting standpoint, though,
it's
the same as what I'm saying. Just from a rating standpoint, it's still the same, but I agree they're not the same defense. So that's why I'm not really sold on Glenn. But again, really good guy as far as recruiting, knows the system, which I agree on. So another guy that I think could fit similar to Glenn that knows the structure is Brian Hartline at Ohio State. The reason why I say that is because Brian Hartline has a fucking inline to Florida recruiting. When I say inline, it's crazy when it comes to the pickings he get in Florida from a skill position and the relationships he has around South Florida Express with that. Like that shit runs through Brian Hartline. So you put
Ohio too.
Exactly. So you put that type of connection in Florida. At Florida State is already there. He knows the lay of the land already. He was down this motherfucker pretty much every damn week trying to fend off us in Miami from Jeremiah Smith. So he's that type of guy when it comes to recruiting. Our skill position wouldn't lack for anything. Now he's been at Ohio State, one of those programs that we talked about. So you get the resources around him. He hires a staff, hire a guy that knows what it looks like from an offensive line standpoint, this, that, and the third, knows the entire structure. If you give him what he needs from a resource standpoint, he will be cheap as well too. He's currently a coordinator. So if you can pour everything to him from a resource standpoint and let him recruit how he recruits, build Florida State in the kind of fashion that you've seen in Ohio State, he could be in that type of mode from a coordinator standpoint. Buster was a guy I liked as well too. I love Buster. I think he's a hell of an OC. I think it's gonna be a matter of time if somebody else don't scoop him up that Kirby brings him to Georgia to be the offensive coordinator at Georgia before he becomes a head coach somewhere. So that's the guy I like as well. Yeah. But again, I'm with you in regards to who you kind of go for. And of course, a lot of people want to hear this. Jimbo's option as well too. This is something I would have loved. I would have loved if we brought in Jimbo and he hired a guy like Buster as far as calling plays from an offensive standpoint.
Would Jimbo do that?
That's the thing. That's my only issue with Jimbo. That's my only issue with if FSU was to hire Jimbo Fisher, how much, I guess you could say, has he learned from his A&M days and Florida State days as far as bringing in the offensive guy, an offensive coordinator to call the actual plays. If you talk about the guy that's just going to be a delegate, a Jimbo that's pretty much just running the whole show, recruiting that type of deal,
Yep.
I think he could do that. He could definitely do that. But again, how much? That's the main question. If I'm hiring, that's my main question with Jimbo. How much of this offense are you really trying to give up? Are you really trying to be hands off and be the CEO type of guy that we need? Because if he's a CEO type of guy and actual hire an actual guy to run the offense, and they just collab on game plan and this, that, and the third, then shit, that could be pretty interesting. And this is a name that's going to throw out there. Marcus Freeman would be an interesting one as well. I'll just throw that out there.
Oh, I'd sign up for that yesterday.
Okay, yeah, I'll just throw that out there and leave that as far as a possible wild card that people would look at as far as, oh, no way he'll leave Notre Dame, that type of deal. That's the guy I would like. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I love that you said him. Trust me, CJ, I might throw my shirt off if we had a chance to get him and run down Broward Boulevard here to get
Right. Tell me about it.
he's not to get too descriptive there, but that's how much I love Marcus Freeman. Those guys will run through a wall for him.
Yeah,
that's what I want. I've noticed with Mike, they haven't been like that. Jimbo, they weren't like that, especially at the end with him.
Not the end, no.
Saw the cracks really around 14 season of Marcus Freeman holds everyone accountable. He's everything you want as a coach. He doesn't make excuses. His defenses they give you fits. I just don't think he'd leave Notre Dame to come to us. That's my honest take. When you said I'll leave it there, I'm not going to press you further on that. But he's a top 5 coach in football, and I'm being
I agree. He's one of those coaches.
I'm not really giving him really top 3, if you want to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's up there too. I'm a high Freeman guy, so I don't know. We'll see. Could be pretty interesting.
We'll see. I mean, Marcus Freeman, I think they would have fired Norvell for yesterday, if they had a shot to get him. Now I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. This group, like I'm down on this administration right now, because my attitude is, well, if someone says to me, well, you don't have the money to buy him out, but you committed to this and you got us in this mess. It's your job to fix the situation.
Yeah.
If I promise you $10,000, CJ, all of a sudden I don't have the money, you don't say to me, well, he doesn't have the money, I guess I'm not going to come after him for it.
Right.
I have to find a way to come up with it.
Right.
That's where I want to see some accountability from them too. If we're forced to keep Mike next year, which I'm starting to come to terms with, not happily, someone needs to go from that administration for a dereliction of duty, negligence, something. You can't just say, yeah, we made a mistake. Let's see. Ed D here. Definitely need a lineup, play ball type of head coach, not a scheme guy or someone who thinks that's Marcus Freeman. In a nutshell. Absolutely. I mean, imagine him walking in with a polo somewhere.
Oh yeah, he's going to get the guy, man. I'm telling you, he's a hell of a recruiter. I think he's going to definitely get the guy. He's just starting to get into the prime of things as far as being a head coach. Still young. We got to remember what
839.
He left 3 years ago. This was what 3 years. This is what year 3 for him along those lines as a head coach. You see the report already. Year 4. So yeah, I like it.
And yeah, in year 3, he's in the national title game.
Yep.
Where it is so much harder to win at Notre Dame than other schools.
That's what people fail to realize as far as the recruiting disadvantages that they have due to strict academic requirements.
And you're in South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah, it's tough to get people to South Bend, Indiana. It's not too hard to get. I have. And it's like I said, you gotta go to Chicago or that type of deal.
Yeah, at least you have Chicago nearby.
Right. Yeah, you get Chicago on the way. Again, it's a lot easier to get motherfuckers to Tallahassee, Florida. I can say that.
Yeah, you're recruiting in December, January. Well, I don't know, with early signing period, who knows? That's another thing that people don't talk about is when people were shocked Bill Belichick came back, I said, look at recruiting now. Remember how it used to be as soon as season ended, they were on the road every day going somewhere up until February? Now, early signing periods in December, the coaches don't go on the road and do in-home visits like they used to.
Right.
Because signing day is a couple of days after the season. So you really – that's why I love it. You get them at your camps and you get them on campus.
Everything is being pushed up. That's why summer official visits have so much of an emphasis now because the timeline is being pushed up so much.
Someone here at Jake is a good brother here. Jake Hutchison asked, what do you think of Will Stein? One's a great offense. I love what he does at Oregon. I don't think he has the recruiting chops to come into Florida State. His ties are really in Texas and those places. It's like Mike Norvell Part 2.
No, He's 36 years old. I need a motherfucker that know what the fuck they're doing for this situation here.
That's true. We're a rebuild with someone who knows, veteran.
Yeah,
Like,
because they said that
only
could be.
thing I've heard is CJ's. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Real quick, I don't want to dig into a bigger hole than we're already in by taking a risk in this type of situation.
And you're paying that much money to get rid of. That's why I said you don't want to spend Bugatti money to get out of Norvell to go ramen noodle shopping. But do I think Will Stein's going to be a head coach? Yeah, he runs a great offense. I just don't think he's a fit with us recruiting wise because you tend to go opposite of the coach you just had. And the big knock on Norvell was he had never been a P5 coach, and his recruiting ties were Tennessee, Texas, those places. Yep. And they didn't really know who he was. So when he was coming to Florida, it wasn't just breaking into Florida. They didn't even know who he was. He had to introduce himself. I want a coach who walks in. That's why I like the Franklin idea. James Franklin doesn't have to introduce himself to Florida high school coaches. They know who he is.
And
Marcus doesn't have to introduce himself.
And if we're going court, Glenn doesn't, and we know definitely that Heartline doesn't.
Right, absolutely. That's why Heartline, and I think Heartline has learned a lot from Ryan Day as far as how to run an organization. I mean, he's not going to have the money that he does at Ohio State, but I think he's learned a lot there, how to run the day-to-day operations. I think he put a good staff together. No, Will Stein is going to be a head coach. I think he's just better in the Midwest of the world. And
he's going to be West Coast.
Coordinators I would think of is Faulkner and Schumann.
Wrap it up. Yep, I gotta get up out in a few, Jeremy.
Oh yeah, we did it. This is perfect. I gotta head out too soon. So CJ, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I appreciate it. Everyone. Check out Doak Talk. I'm gonna put the link in the description. CJ, anything you want to say on the way out?
No, man. Appreciate you guys for coming to hang out, man. And don't get too discouraged as far as the state of the program in Florida State. I understand it's been bad, but we're still Florida State. I really do think that Florida State isn't that far from being back and competing. I understand we're conference we're in the ACC. We've seen how winnable it was this year, and we still had a chance to actually win this conference in certain situations. So I don't feel like we're that far behind. I know it feels that way due to how long we haven't been winning things. Like 2 winning seasons in X amount of years. But again, guys, I'm telling you, it's not as bad as it seemed if change is made and something like that. I think it could be a pretty good turnaround. Let's put it that way.
Florida State's a place you can win at if you do it right. I mean, what's the expression? The blind cat can recruit kids to Florida State. But I agree with you, CJ. And with the portal, you can always expedite things. But CJ, I thank you enough. Nold Nation 2025, Ed D, and Jake, thank you so much for your chats. I appreciate it. CJ, can't thank you enough, man. Hope you come on again sometime.
Most definitely, man. Send me out an invite. It's always a pleasure, man. It was very fun.
Awesome. Glad you enjoyed it. Take care, everyone. Go Noles.
Go Noles.